This video is entitled African Fractions Reclaiming African Wisdom. Definitely the time has come now that Africans have to reclaim their wisdom. It's been stolen away from us, we know that for sure, so it has to be reclaimed. Now take a look at the fractions that are imagined here. We start with 1/3, 1/5, etc. Just take a look at them, in fact write them down, and what you have to do now is add these fractions as you see them and see what results you get. You add these fractions, there are 9 terms I believe. You add them all and you will get 1, the whole number 1. Now when did these fractions appear? These fractions appeared thousands of years ago in Africa. They didn't appear in Europe, they didn't appear in Asia, they didn't appear in America, they appeared in Africa. Everyone agrees with that. But the fact is, how did they appear, and how did the Africans work these fractions to come up with the solution that is one whole? They didn't have any calculators then, they didn't have any computers, and look at the nature of the fractions themselves. If this doesn't convince you about the complexity of the African mind, then you ought to be looking somewhere else. Also, I want you to understand that the documents upon which these fractions were written have been all claimed. For instance, the document on which these African fractions here, see, I call them African fractions, and they call them, you know who calls them Egyptian fractions. The European calls them Egyptian fractions because he doesn't want to give the credit to the African. But the fact is, the Africans are the ones who wrote these things. It was no Egyptian. You go to Egypt today, you see no African there. You see the Arab, the Jew, also the Greek, you see them all there. They didn't contribute to our civilization, but they claimed it. So what I'm here to emphasize is the fact that Africans did create these fractions thousands of years ago, and so they ought to be to gain the respect for it. So the document, the papyrus upon which this fraction was written, which they call Egyptian fraction, was claimed by a Scottish man called Rind, R-H-I-N-D. Now this man knew nothing about math, he knew nothing about numbers, but he went as a trader to Egypt, and then he bought that papyrus and he put his name on it. So they called it the Rind papyrus. I mean, it's a disgrace. Today they still call it the Rind papyrus. This man knew nothing about mathematics. He knew nothing. He can't even, his ancestry can't even solve a thing about mathematics. Yet they claim it. The same with all the other papyri, the Edwin Smith papyrus and so forth. Well, what I am doing now, I'm changing these names. I'm changing this Rind papyrus, the name Rind papyrus. I'm going to call it the Atashima T papyrus. So we change Rind to Atashima T papyrus. And then the Edwin Smith papyrus, we are going to change that to Imhotep papyrus, because Imhotep is the man who created the science that you call today medical science, and the Edwin Smith papyrus mentions a great deal about the medical science and so forth. So here, this is now the era in which Africa has to reclaim her power. And then the Moscow papyrus, we change that to Sheshet T, to Sheshet papyrus, Priestess Sheshet papyrus. So we are going to place the names of the African priestesses who brought mathematics to humanity. These African priestesses, the 3 priestesses, came from Central Africa. They brought calculus, trigonometry, and geometry 7,000 years ago. 7,000 years ago. That's what we did. Now the European turns around and he says, where that civilization was run by aliens. And so, I mean, it's such a ridiculous nonsense. This is what they put Dr. Anta Diop through in UNESCO, in a meeting in UNESCO, I think in 1975 or something, somewhere around there. In that meeting in Cairo, Egypt, they argued Dr. Anta Diop to the floor that he was some alien or Greek that created African civilization and that kind of nonsense. So this man went out of his way, Dr. Anta Diop went out of his way to prove by developing the melanin test this man developed the melanin test, and he tested the DNA of all the pharaohs. He said, look, there's not a single drop of white blood in these pharaohs. How can you claim that the African civilization, that the pharaohs were Europeans, or they were anything else than African? But I'm not going to go into that nonsense, because it is a distraction. The era for distraction is out of this window. We are no longer living in the era of theories, where you come and put a theory here and then ask people to come and prove your theory right or wrong. No, I'm not going to walk that. I'm not going to dance that dance with you. I'm going to give you facts, and you must prove my facts wrong. The burden is now on you, it's not on me. I don't care about your theories. So here it is. Take the African fractions here and prove the African fractions not to be 1. If you can prove that these African fractions that are spread out here don't add up to 1, then you are right. Then it was the European that created the African civilization. But if you add these fractions and you find out that they add up to 1, then you better begin to change your thinking. Let us bring harmony to this planet. Let us accept each other. Let us stop this nonsense about one race being this and that, when in fact the fact is that any race is picking up from the African race. Africans created the foundation to everything you have today. Your technology would never be here had it not been Africans who brought this binary theory into the universe. Africans created the binary logic. Go to the VI right here in who established the civilization here in America. They gave base 20 arithmetic. The binary arithmetic comes out of base 20. Then you go to the Dogon. They created base 8 arithmetic. And then you got all the other systems now, complex systems that come out of base 8 arithmetic. So you got to come now and begin to appreciate other races who have created foundations to humanity. Let us accept each other. We are not going to. We African people are not going to possess anything without sharing. We always share. We always share. I'm here sharing Dogon wisdom. The DNA that some other Crick and Watson got the Nobel Prize for. We talked about the DNA before these people even talked about it. Then you got Einstein talking about the theory of relativity. Well, Benjamin Banneker talked about the theory of relativity 200 years before Einstein. So everything that the European is giving you today, we know about it, we talk about it, but we don't get claim for it. So why is this nonsense? Why is this nonsense, this fight going on, trying to destroy the African race? Why? I mean, what can you do if there was no African race? Anyway, I want humanity to just come together. Please, let's come together. I'm not begging anyone. You want to come together, fine. You don't want to come together, that's on you. But we are fed up now. The new civilization is here, and this new civilization is taking a different path. So we are marching in this new path. We welcome you. This is a civilization of numbers. That's why I put this fraction here. The African fractions. The African fractions are about numbers. And this new era of Aquarius is about numbers. Your technology is not going to work. So let us come together now, learn a new civilization. Learn this civilization. This civilization is abstract. We are no longer building caterpillars. We are not going to be building huge, humongous machines. The era for those machines are dead. This is now the era in which we go into the simple abstract nature of things. Simple abstract nature of things through numbers. Natural numbers. Natural numbers I emphasize. I'm Professor Momo. I love to hear from you.